Hope y'all doing good out there. Let's get it. Let me get this tweeted out, get everything going. We got the Legends. Bonethugs and Harmony versus 3-6 Mafia. Y'all know that's gonna be crazy. All right, I'm gonna wait till a few more people get in here, and we're gonna go with. All right, a lot of you guys should know back in the early to mid 90s, we had the likes of, I call it the greatest generation ever when it comes to hip hop, rap music, however you want to classify it. To me, I think it was the best generation for music ever. I mean, we had so much great music, so many legends that were created, um, so many genres that was created from these upcoming groups that we're going to talk about. I mean, we're talking about some groups that has transcended what we call hip hop. We're talking about trendsetters. We're talking about none of your current favorite rappers, hip hop artists, even some singers would be what they are today, or wouldn't even been birthed if it weren't for these two groups that we're going to mention. And if you look at a lot of their history, a lot of their stories of how they came about. I mean, you're going to be amazed. So a lot of you guys know this information. Some of you guys don't, but for those that do, man, I'm going to run you through the historical time frame of how these guys came about. I mean, we're talking about the year 92, 91, 92, 93, and so on. A lot of these people they're still relevant to this day. So let me get one more person on in here, and we'll get started. All right, I got one more person that's gonna come in here and um, kind of bounce some stuff back and forth. We're gonna feed off each other on this. I mean, these are two of my favorite groups ever, 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 ever. And these guys are legendary. They've deserved their Grammys, their Emmys, and every other award possible. And we're talking about not only, I guess, let me go ahead and introduce them: Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3-6 Mafia. We're gonna have a versus December the 2nd of 2021, and I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be off the hook, man. These guys have made some of the best songs ever imaginable, some of the best albums, even to this day. When you play them, people feel a certain type of way. I mean, these groups will make you jump out your seat. These groups will make you it just puts you in a different space, man. And not many groups can do that. Not many groups can do that. But we're going to talk about them. Bone Thugs and Harmony. We'll start with Bone Thugs and Harmony, then we'll go with 3-6 Mafia. My first venture into Bone Thugs and Harmony came with the Thuggish Ruggish Bone back in 1993, 1994.
94.
Now, yeah, 94. Now, let me tell you, around that time, some of the hot songs that was on the radio. Songs like Gin and Juice. I believe I was in middle school when this song came out. So I may be telling my age, but when Gin and Juice with Snoop Dogg and them came out, that was the popping shit on the radio. That's just kind of what it was. That was the shit. That's what everybody was jamming to. And then come the Thuggish Ruggish Bone, and everybody started vibing to that. It was just something different. It was something different, man, that we hadn't really heard from. We heard the East Coast rap, from the LL Cool J. We got Snoop on the West Coast running things out there. And I'll be honest, even down south, we had the Ghetto Boys and stuff like that, but we didn't really have. Yeah, we had Outkast and stuff like that. But let's take it here. That was. I want to say that was the minority. That was a small niche at the time, right? The South didn't go popping like that for some years later, almost a decade later.
Facts.
So I'm trying to give them the timeline of when this stuff kind of started popping off. So you had Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I'm saying 93 for a reason, because that's going to lead up to how we got to 94. They didn't drop their first big album, their first EP, or their first EP into that Creeping on the Come Up, which consisted of Thuggish Ruggish Bone, For the Love of Money.
I think the EP, that was only like 8 songs on there?
Yeah, it was only 8 songs on there. It wasn't a full album, which is considered an LP.
Right. It's an extended play. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, this is going to lead to my point.
Yep.
With the modern day, how you have these artists releasing, 3 or 4 songs and just dropping that. That stuff was done back then. That stuff was pioneered back then. Not giving you a full album, but giving you something to sample to that's going to, pop your mind off. Now, this is an era where we still had cassette tapes. A lot of people don't remember that. We still had cassette tapes back then. We weren't popping with CDs. We're not even popping with CDs now, right? Everything is streaming. But, I mean, back then we had the tapes. So back then, we had the Gin and Juice on the radio. And then we had the Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And it was just something different that we hadn't heard from. So people was wondering, hey, where are these cats from? You know what I'm saying? The territory region that the music industry put them in was called the Midwest. And over time, I'm going to bring up four groups total when we were talking, right? That fits into that category. You have your Bone Thugs and Harmony, your 3-6 Mafias, your Crucial Conflicts, and your Do or Dies, right? Those were people that were in that particular genre, in that particular region, considered the Midwest region for hip-hop and rap music. And it's ironic because those guys ended up beefing, per se, because of the type of music that they were making and the genre and the location that they were making. Everybody wanted to be the first to pop off with this particular type of music or style. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. All day, man, go ahead and introduce yourself. You know what I'm saying? Tell people a little bit of, let people know a little bit about your, your music history and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of hip hop in general, but to be more specific, when it came to like Bone and in music, my mom was a gangster, my pops was a gangster, so in my house nothing but oldies and gangster music. You know what I'm saying? So
for sure,
a little bit of salsa here and there, but at the same time, I used to steal my mom's tapes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because until I was 8 years old, she didn't let me listen to no cuss words, right? So I used to have. I remember she would listen to Thuggish Ruggish Bone, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, what's that? You gotta dub me a tape of that. For you young brains that don't know, I mean, that's when you record on another tape for somebody else. You know what I mean? So I said, Mom, can you dub it? She was like, No, I'm not gonna dub it. I'm gonna buy you the single on a tape. I remember it came with the love of money, for the love of money,
Mo Cheese,
the acapella, the remix,
yeah,
and there was another version, alternate version on there. It was a
yeah,
black cassette tape. I remember that was
yeah,
my first experience with Bone, right?
yeah.
But I kind of had an inkling. I was already at a young age. I was already following Eazy-E because he had came out with that diss album for Dre, which was one of the best diss albums ever made to me.
Yeah.
187 its own Dre. And once I heard that,
hold on one
my ears
second.
kind of, huh?
And just for you guys, I know a lot of you guys probably already know this, but if you didn't know, Eazy-E, the Godfather of Gangsta Rap, is the guy who discovered Bone Thugs and Harmony. And I'll tell you a little bit about the backstory of that after all they finish. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, my first introduction to them was "Creeping on the Come Up," and I didn't go back. And once I got the single, my mom had dubbed it for me. Then she went to go buy it for me. After that, I think I had my homeboy was into it too, and we had found out Faces of Death after East 99 had came out.
Yeah.
So I did my research, and back in the day, we used to go backwards. You know what I'm saying? If we found out about an artist, we would go back and see their previous
look at
work.
their catalog. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So that's when I found out. I said they had the Underground album, and matter of time, at this time we was about 8 years old, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So this is new to us, you know what I'm saying? So we found Faces of Death, and it wasn't as good as Creeping on the Come Up, but we saw the potential there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was still tight.
You saw the origins of what
right.
would eventually
and I didn't
come.
Really,
yeah.
Right. And then I remember reading Murder Dog magazine and like Double XL, and I found out like about. I remember in '95, after For the Love of Money came out, another group sparked up, Crucial Conflict, right?
Yeah.
And they had the Hey song or whatever, and I got popular. And I was like, oh, so they all got braids and they all kind of wearing
have
the
same
clothes,
similar swag and style.
So yeah, so I was like, oh, so this is the new wave, and I wasn't mad at it because I was like, man, this sound is different, right?
Yeah.
I was like, we never heard people harmonizing like this because Dr. Dre was one of the first ones to ever really put hooks in rap music. Not like just scratching and cutting samples. I'm talking about real hooks, but
Yeah.
So Bone Thugs and Harmony took that and applied it pipe hella pressure and made it their own, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first introduction, was Creeping on the Come Up and Thugs vs. Bone and all that. And then we can go on 3-6 after you introduce them. But then that was my first introduction to Bone Thugs and Harmony. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so when we go back to, that first album, Creeping on the Come Up, with 94, it had other songs
No
like
Surrender.
No Surrender and stuff like that.
Momer and all that.
Yeah. So we're not going to get into too deep involved, but just to kind of let you guys know, the reason that, like all day said, with your Crucial Conflicts and your Bone Thugs and Harmony around that same time, they had the grungy look, right? Because these guys were poor. Anytime you have poverty, you're gonna have strife. You're gonna have, the being in jail, selling the drugs and the violence and stuff like that, and that bred these guys. And these guys, if you look at their story, you realize that Lazy Bone and Flesh and Bone, two members of Bone Thugs and Harmony, they're brothers.
Yeah.
With Flesh being the older. And then you have Crazy Bone and Wishbone, which are cousins. Yeah. And a lot of people didn't know that Busy Bone came about because Busy Bone's dad, Big B, was dating Flesh and Bone and Lazy Bone's mom at the time. And a lot of people didn't know that correlation. So they all kind of went to the same school. They all started vibing, doing a thing. Flesh and Bone, he was the oldest, so he kind of had already started doing his rapping thing a little bit earlier. And they just kind of meshed together. Originally, they was called the Band-Aid Boys back in high school. Then they ended up going to Bone Enterprise. And then eventually, when they hooked up with Eazy-E, they got the name Bone Thugs and Harmony, because they harmonized. These guys were obviously poor, didn't have any money, whatever. They got one-way bus tickets to California to go meet Eazy-E. They kept hounding, I guess.
Well, you didn't even tell the story. Crazy Bones rapping over the phone.
Absolutely. Skipping over this because, again, we kind of have some time constraints. I got to be over about 1 o'clock. But, I do want to go in a little bit more in depth. But, yeah, so how they hooked up with Eazy-E, they got the and they called. They kept calling. And finally, the lady said, "These dudes keep calling you, E. Please take the call." So he took the call. Instantly, Fleshbone started rapping on the phone. He was impressed. He said, "Here's my number. Call me back at this time." Called him back again at another time, and I believe it's this time. Crazy Bone got picked. Crazy Bone got on the phone and started spitting his flow, and it was a verse off of what was the verse off of the Bone Enterprise, the Faces of Death.
I don't remember.
I forgot the name of the song, but he rapped that verse and he was like, "Oh man, hey, where you guys at? I want you guys." And they said, "Hey, look, we're out here." He said, "Hey, I got a show in Cleveland in a couple of weeks. Meet me out there." Sure enough, they went back, got bus tickets, left California, went back to Cleveland, went backstage, met with Eazy-E, started rapping for him, and the rest is history. Basically signed him on the spot. These guys, that was it, right? So let's take a pause real quick. We're going to move back over to 3-6 Mafia. So I didn't learn about 3-6 Mafia, right? Until a little bit time later, after Bonethugs and Harmony. Now these guys were in, obviously they're from Memphis, from all over, man. Black Haven, yada yada yada, just everybody. Now that group consists of Juicy J, DJ Paul. At one time, it consists of Gangsta Boo, Crunchy Black, Lord Infamous, and a lot of people don't know that Project Pat, he's one of the members. I wouldn't call him a member of 3-6 Mafia. He's part of the Hypnotized Camp Posse. They're in a group. So you had Bonethugs and Harmony. They had their inner group, which is called Mo Thugs, right? With all their friends and stuff that they put on. Then you got 3-6 Mafia had their inner group, Hypnotized Camp Posse, and the other inner groups that they kind of created to put all their friends on. So Juicy J Juicy J and what's
DJ Paul?
No, not DJ Paul. God damn it, it's on the tip. Yeah, Project Pat. They're brothers.
Yeah,
they're blood brothers.
They're brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers. Yeah. And then you got Lord Infamous and DJ Paul. They're brothers. So if you notice these two groups, right, they started with family, right, and then they kind of got together. They start with as brothers and stuff like that. They kind of got together. They created their group, created their harmony. They created their style and stuff like that. So DJ Paul was known for spinning records and stuff in Cleveland at the high schools and different little gigs and stuff like that. Got with Juicy J. I mean, pretty much the rest is history. These guys have solidified themselves as the club banging kings. Whether you call them the underground kings or the overground kings. DJ Paul to me is probably the number 2 or 3 best DJs ever in history to me. First will be DJ Screw, obviously not from Screwston, Texas. So obviously I got to give a shout out to that. Then, you got, obviously, that's me as being a Bone fan. You got your DJ Unique. He put all that shit together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got DJ Paul right up there, number 2. They scrapping for number 2. These guys are legends, man. The way they put the shit together, they make their music make you feel a certain type of way. So 3-6 Mafia, right? Obviously, their style, kind of the dark, the mystics and stuff like that. Late Night Tip, right? Came out with that song. Everybody knows that song. Man. Everybody go crazy when you play that. And listen, they got songs, man. You can't talk about. I mean, you can't sing. You can't say the name of it. Yeah, that shit, that's just crazy. Now, here's the thing. If they were making them songs in this day, this era, this time, they wouldn't get airplay. They would not get any airplay because their songs had the lyrics that were just, I'm not going to say ahead of their time, but it was kind of like, you had Luke back in the day, right? You had Luke back in the day with his sexual lyrics and stuff like that. And then you had 3-6 Mafia making people want to fight, tearing up the clubs. I mean, they just got the bangers that really just, it'll change the whole atmosphere of the room. You can have a peaceful atmosphere. 3-6 Mafia can walk in a room and set that shit on fire and they start fights. You know what I'm saying? That's what they kind of deliver to the industry. And that's why I say, man, they are the best in the industry for what they did for rap, what they did for the culture and how they pushed. And they're still relevant to this day. Juicy J, man, dude got song with Katy Perry. You know, he done already crossed over, getting the bag. His songs are legendary. His number one hook, I like when he used to rap and stuff. He used to have that that hissing and stuff like that, kind of like that Jason or that Michael Myers theme kind of going on when he rapped and and he kind of did his thing. Oh man, just their music just takes you back, man. Then they got music with everybody, all the features that they put together, man. Like I said, Juicy J and DJ Paul is a genius. DJ Paul, I mean, this guy, just his beats, his hooks, and everything is legendary. These guys been in movies. Obviously, you guys know it's Hard Out Here for a Pimp and some of the other stuff that they put together with the different movies. They got the Grammys, Emmys. They got, I mean, their accolades speak for itself. Both groups, Bonethugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia. Their music it's just legendary. And to see these legends go against each other, I'm not even going to say against each other. They're doing it for the culture. At the end of the day, they're doing it for the culture. There is no other two groups that I would put up there with them. They're in a class of their own. Now, you also had your Crucial Conflicts, whose library isn't as long as Bone Thugs or 3 6 Mafia. You had Do or Die, whose library isn't as long as Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia. But I mention them because the type of rap that they was doing, a lot of the speed rapping, just a lot of the harmonizing, a lot of the flowing and the way it was delivered, a lot of the suggested lyrics, a lot of the subjects and topics is just legendary. You wouldn't have the Migos. You wouldn't have some of the other dudes, the Game. You wouldn't have a lot of the other people. They are the OGs of the industry when it comes to that, right? And so being able to see this live is kind of like for us old heads who remember these groups. And most people remember. And if you don't remember them, there was some of your rappers today were influenced by these guys, if not working directly with these guys. And these guys had a rivalry at one point in time because Bone says, hey, look, these guys stole our style. 3 6 Mafia, like, nah, they stole our style. Crucial Conflict, same thing. And they had some songs against each other. They had some verses against each other. Everybody wanted to be the owner of their particular craft. Now, one thing I will say is Bone Thugs and Harmony, they actually did the singing in the hooks. They actually put the melody together inside of their raps. So it wasn't just spitting bars. They were actually singing and harmonizing with it, which at the time that was unprecedented. Because most people didn't figure out, are these guys singers or are they rappers? And these guys actually were both. These guys could hold notes. They could just, and most of the songs they had, again, was produced by DJ Unique. Crazy Bone delivered a lot of that stuff. He's a genius and a legend inside this stuff. But you wouldn't have that full group without every single member of that group produced something that was part of that group, shall I say. Meaning on a song, you wouldn't have the same song if you took Busy Bone off that song, or if you took Wish or Lazy Bone or Flesh.
It wouldn't have the same feel.
It wouldn't have the same feeling. Now, when you pop in a CD or your tape and you listening to some Mo Murder by Bone Thugs and Harmony, that shit just, man, the vibing is just finna change. People finna be like, oh shit, Mo Murder, come again. Again, DJ Unique, he put his feet in there. But then on the other side of the game, you got 3 6 Mafia, right? And it's just, how can I put it? It's just, those guys, when you play a 3 6 Mafia song, man, you finna bounce, you finna jump up and down, like you finna vibe to a whole different feeling. And even though these groups, they have similar styles, but they're doing two different things, right? 3 6 Mafia is for the club. You play their jams in the club. Bone Thugs, you play their music while you smoked out, while you just high. I mean, Bone Thugs created more weed and getting high songs than probably any other group in history. That's just kind of what they did. That was their vibe. Back in the day, they was on that vibe, that fuck the police vibe, and all their songs, right? They was all about the smoking out, getting high, getting fried, and everything else. That's kind of what they were doing there in their particular genre. Now, catalog. Let's talk about the catalog all day, man. What do you think about the catalog of music? Obviously, these groups had their peaks. And they had their.
Well, you got to talk about when did you get introduced to 3 6 Mafia? When was your launching pad? Like what album?
I'm gonna be honest. Late Night Tip. Y'all remember the box back in the day on cable?
Yeah, you got to call in and
people used to call in and request a video. But the Late Night Tip, right?
Yeah, I got my ass whooped for that channel, bro.
Absolutely. Listen, when I heard that song, it really wasn't the lyrics that got me involved. It was the beat. It was a dark beat, man. It was a dark beat. Like this song probably, even though I didn't know the lyric, let's say you didn't know the lyrics. When you heard the beat and the music, it sounded like something that shouldn't be on radio. It sounded like something like a kid shouldn't be listening to. That's how legendary that song is. But I'm gonna be honest. When the smoke clears, when that album came out, and listen, I'm gonna tell you this.
Listen,
as a 3 6 Mafia fan, when the smoke clears is probably the best album ever in history, right? Ever in history, only because you can listen to every single song and just jam that shit all the way through, and it's just so many jams on that album where you kind of can't pick, your favorite one. It was just, they just all just hit so bad. But I'm gonna be honest, what really was a breakout song to me was Who Run It. When you play Who Run It, when they had that video, right? Who Run It, when they were on the Escalade, they were on the hood of the Escalade, and they was standing, inside the Escalade hanging out. You got Infamous hanging out the back. You got Gangsta Boo through the sunroof, and you got DJ Paul sitting on the hood. I mean, just everything about that song in that video was kind of like, it just put you in your feelings, man. It just made you feel a certain type of way. And the beat, the hook, and everything, that shit would just shut everything down. No matter what you was doing, you're gonna stop what you're doing, and you just gonna get bucked with it. And that, I think that was the breakout album to me that just solidified. Even to this day, right? I think it'll be hard pressed for people to say that 3 6 Mafia had a better album. Yeah, you had ones that were good. It's kind of like, how, to me personally, I think East 1999 Eternal is the best Bonethugs in Harmony album
100%, 100%,
because it solidified them in the legendary status. Not only the amount it sold, not only the reception of the album, but the time frame that it was done in. Then you had 3 6 Mafia When the Smoke Clears. Those are two competing albums that I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. And I can't wait for this Verzuz because I think you can just play those two albums side by side and just be done. You don't even have to play any of the other bodies of work.
So hold on. So you would Verzuz When the Smoke Clears versus East 99, or would you put Chapter 2 World Domination in
No, I got to go When the Smoke Clears.
Okay, that was a bigger, better album. Yeah, I will agree. Yeah.
It was, because it was more mature, right? Just like, as good as Creeping on the Come Up was, they didn't.
It was a stepping stone.
It was a stepping stone. They didn't come into their own until they made East 1999.
That's a fact. Right?
From Butt Smokers Only, from Mo Murder,
Crossroads,
the First of the Month. I mean, E 1999 Eternal, that was the first single.
Matter of fact, they had like 5 singles off of the album.
They had 5 singles off of that album, man. And man, like I'm getting goosebumps, man, just thinking about these two legendary groups being in the same building at the same time. And by the way, they're working on Crazy Bone and DJ Paul. They're in the studio right now, cooking up some shit for a new album.
That's gonna be fire.
And so I can't wait for that. Now, what do you think as far as? I mean, would you put those albums together, or how would you line them up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but for me, they're gonna do single by single. So I don't think they in Verzuz. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't really do album cuts too much.
Well, I think this is what
because this is going to be the outlier because the problem is a lot of album cuts between these two groups are a lot better than the singles. So
no, you're right because the singles are really the radio play. It's not generally what most people would would consider the best of them. So you're right.
Right. So I think we're gonna have to battle the singles. So we just going off of singles.
Yeah.
Early '90s, we probably gonna do Late Night Tip versus Thuggish Ruggish Bone, or we might do. I just hope it depends on the DJ, right? It depends on how they feeling and what because they got their tracks already ready,
already laid out. Yeah, they already
picked
the track lists and stuff.
Let's just hope it's fair because I think as time goes on, Bone will start to diminish. And 3 6 Mafia will start at the end game. I think 3 6 will win just because of time and relevancy, right? And they kind of stayed in the game longer and kind of put out more. Bone kind of stopped after Resurrection. So
I disagree with that. And the reason I disagree is because Bone has that, let's say 3-4 album span, right? But they've released 5 other albums after that where they weren't obviously at their peak because they were missing Busy Bone on one, Flesh and Bone got locked up. So it wasn't a complete group together, right? Whereas even at a certain time, 3 6 Mafia kind of start losing members and stuff like that.
Well, of course.
Bonethugs, I think, started first in the mainstream, right? Whereas 3 6 Mafia picked up after. So but
remember, 3 6 Mafia, I give them more points anyway because they didn't have a major label really backing them
absolutely. They were. That's why I call them they're the underground kings, right?
Yeah, facts.
A lot of their best bangers were before the big mainstream stuff, and but you got to realize too, Bone had more mainstream stuff than more underground stuff than they had mainstream.
But they only had 2 albums. It's not that much.
No, with all their.
All the
Bonethugs
stuff and all that stuff.
The Bonethugs stuff. Yeah. Each one of them pretty much except.
But was it fire though? That's the thing. That's what we're getting at.
Had singles. They were number one at the particular time. You had Busy Bone with Heaven's Movie. He had
When Thugs
Cry, right? That was his single off of that. You had Crazy Bone. He had
Thug Mentality.
Yeah, Thug Mentality that had multiple, with Sade and stuff like that. You had Lazy Bone with his album. L Burner, right? You had different stuff. So, given the group in its entirety able to branch off and do their solo albums and still come back and piece it together,
that's where I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying once they split up, did they solo albums, right? All their first solo albums were fire. When they got back together, did Resurrection, all 5 members, it was fire, right?
Yeah.
But then after that, when it came out with the Phil Collins stuff, I'm not saying that song was bad.
Let's face it, it changed because the game changed and their circumstances changed. Think about it,
because Auto War is still a classic. So
no, it is by far, right? By far,
it was the second double disc in history, I do believe.
Yes,
because Tupac was the first. So
no, you're right. But it goes back, right? And we haven't even talked about the track list, right? Because Bone is still one of the only groups to ever do songs with every living legend that has unfortunately died, right?
Yeah.
They did it with Big Pun, Biggie, Pac, on and on and on, right? We can keep naming, not to make that point, but they, I don't know, man. I think that track list for Bonethugs and Harmony is a little bit better than 3 6 Mafia. And only because you feel.
But you're biased, Craig. You gotta let the fans know you're biased, though.
Am I biased?
Think about it. Tell the truth. You're a Bone fan first.
I am because I was introduced to Bone first. But 3 6 Mafia, think about it. 3 6 Mafia mainstream came 3 years later. So but at the same time, I did say up front, right?
Right.
Let me get my brother King's Blood in here.
Get him in here, man. I need somebody to help me, bro.
King.
Tell this man, bro.
Come on in, brother.
Listen, man.
Go ahead, brother.
I'm hearing y'all speaking from a South and a West perspective.
Uh-huh.
But I'm from the East Coast.
All right, talk that shit.
Man, nobody listen to that shit, bro. For real, for real. That's gonna be the lowest verses there is, bro. Let me tell you something.
Let me eject this.
Don't nobody know 20 songs from Bonethugs, and don't nobody know 20 songs from 3 6.
All right, we kicked his ass up out of here. We don't need that. I thought my brother was finna come with some knowledge,
Hey,
man.
King's Blood, I'm not in control, cuz.
Hey, my brother King's Blood still listen to LL Cool J. If you don't get your ass, get your ass. Yeah, ejecto, cuz. Listen, let's face it, man. Notorious Thugs. We got the Notorious B.I.G. getting to that level with Bone Thugs and Harmony. He's actually flowing melody-wise, rap-wise with Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Listen, wait. Let's pause it right there. We got to talk about that for a second.
Let's talk about it.
I think that's very slept on and very important, right? Like, just to show you, like, I'm nothing against Pac, right? Yeah. Pac was a dope. His concepts was dope. Everything was dope. Good. He's a good average rapper, right?
Yeah.
But his message was a little bit bigger than who he was, right? But like Biggie, listen, when we heard Biggie change up his flow like that,
yes,
for the first time,
that solidified him in the history.
Biggie was in the legendary category. Yeah, that has really never been done like that. To take
never been done before. Never been done before.
First of all, he's an East Coast cat, right?
Absolutely.
And he's fast rapping. I'm not taking it back from Jay-Z or Jay-Z used to fast rap, but to make it sound as good,
his flow,
and to be on par with Bone, and even almost outdoing their verses, right?
Yeah,
it was a beautiful thing, and it's never been done. And I think that solidified Biggie. Like, man, then Life After Death came out right after that.
Yeah,
and then he passed away, so we didn't really get to see his growth. But that song right there was it was definitely a super impact on me as a fan. So
absolutely. Listen, man, I was in middle school when that song came out, and a friend of mine kind of he was listening to it on the radio. It was like one of the first singles that were played on the radio. He was like, "Yeah, you heard the new Bone song?" I was like, "Nah." He says it's called Notorious Thugs, so he let me listen to it because he taped it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Now at this time, right, I'm knowing Biggie. But because I'm down south, I'm not caring about Biggie, right? I love it when you call me Big Papa, right? He was just that guy. He, from that, he didn't become the Biggie that we knew him was for a couple of years later. But when I saw him come out of his, like, Biggie, man, he
came out of his element,
flow.
Bro.
Yeah, he came out of his flow to say, I'm going to push what I do aside. I'm going to get on these dudes' level and do what they do, and I'm gonna make this shit pop. And you couldn't tell me that he wasn't a 6 Bone member after that cut.
No, he was. He
was a 6 Bone member. Biggie could have continued making the rest of the album with them.
They should have made a whole. We wanted the album after that.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, this is gonna be very controversial because
you better bring up the Pac song too, fool.
That's what I'm about to do. That's exactly where I'm going to before we get to the 3 6 Mafia side of things.
Yeah.
But it's very controversial, and that is which one was a better song, Notorious Thugs or Thug Love? Now, here's the thing. You got Pac. Now, listen, I know you're a Biggie fan, and I know you say, yes, Biggie had the better flow in the deliveries, but to me, I think Pac had the more lyrical, he had the better lyrical delivery because what he was talking about made you think. Right, it made you think it was a story, even though Biggie was known for his storytelling. But Pac's words resonate with us today, and we can't dismiss that. Whether you think he was a good rapper or not, we got to understand that Pac was a poet. He delivered it in his method and his way of doing it, and for him to come on Bones' album with Thug Love, right, and just wreck that thing. We have to speak to that, man. That attests a lot to so which song do you think was the best?
Notorious Thugs, no question.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie, man. When you pop
look, hey, everybody in this room right now, if you driving in your car, you got the light or whatever, you got a little system in there, you know what I'm saying? You put on Thug Love, you don't think niggas is busting at you, right? Listen,
Yeah.
When you put on Notorious Thugs, man, that's something
Get
everybody
high,
can.
get high,
Your mama
get
can
high.
like it. Your granddaddy can like it. Like it's a
Oh,
universal
so
song. I think Thug Love kind of fit that aggressive tone where it's not a bad song. It's just a situational song.
but Thug Love was on the side 2 of the Art of War,
That's
right?
facts.
That's what it was. It was the number 2 cut, right? On that. So when you heard those gunshots, you knew shit was finna go down.
It was a very unique track for sure.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie, man. DJ Unique, that was probably his best. Outside,
I've
East
never heard a gun
1999
like using a gun sample in a beat like that.
And for those of you guys that don't know, but I was in Dallas, Texas. I was at my mom's house. This was for the summer. They had a whole rollout for this Art of War album. What they would do, they would play 30-second samples of each of the tracks on the album leading up to the release of the album. Man, when they got to Thug Love part, they said they had to remove the gunshots from it. They said, I mean, this was a very, how can I say, at the time, right? This was a very controversial song because it had the gunshots. So they had to blur out the gunshots every single time, and that shit was crazy.
Wait, wasn't Thug Love supposed to be a single?
It was supposed to be a single, but because I mean, like what we're talking about, the gunshots and just kind of like,
because ain't no way you about to have a Pac feature and it's not a single, bro. Like
exactly, yeah. But at the same time, that Pac was relative. He was the hot shit, the hot ticket, and this you got to realize, you still kind of like, was this? Before this was during the whole East Coast versus West Coast beef that was starting to brew, right? Was that? I mean,
it was at the tail end of it, kind of. If you think about it,
it was kind of at the tail end of it,
right?
So for this song here to come out, this shit's crazy, and I got to give it to Thug Love. I know you don't give it Notorious Thugs. Notorious Thugs, yes, you can be in your car and you can bump it. Everybody can bump it, and I'm not taking it from it. It's one of the best jams ever. But Thug Love, like, pop, man, like he finna shut down. Like that whole song was raw, uncut, unfiltered, and that's what it was designed to be. Versus Thug Love, I mean, Notorious Thugs, it fit Biggie. It fit.
Wait, hold on, Sales, let me call your bluff real quick.
Go ahead. So,
when's the last time you listened to either of these songs, and do you still feel the same way as an adult listening to this shit?
All the time.
Okay.
Almost. I mean, I'll be honest, man.
So I'm just asking because, you know,
multiple times
as adolescents, and we grow up, our music tastes change. So
absolutely. I don't know if you know it, but I always post a lot of what I'm listening to on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because if at that time, if that's my mood, if that's what I'm listening to, and that's my mood, like I listen to a lot of 3 6 Mafia, right? Because sometimes I just I wake up in the morning. Sometimes I just want to, you know what I'm saying, just elbow it. You know what I'm saying? That's the feeling that I'm.
You be elbowing your son in the morning.
You know what I'm saying? Up. Yeah, just getting me crunk, getting me hyped up. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the sipping on some scissor, whether it's riding spinners, whether it's when I pull up at the club,
right.
It's so many different things from either of these groups that you can listen to that put you in the mood. But that's why I classify these groups as legends, right? They're the masters of what they try to do and how relevant they've been in the industry. And I know a lot of people like to say, well, Bone fell off at this time, 3 6 Mafia fell off at this time. I don't think they ever fell off. What happened is, and they kind of expressed it, hey, man, when we first made Creeping on the Come Up, we was starving. We was hungry. You know what I'm saying? We was starving. Right. We was hungry. We was poor. We was just rapping our life and what we saw. And all that raw energy was there. East 1999, the same thing, all that raw energy. Well, by the time you get to album 4 and 5, you're rich. You done already broke the Beatles record. You done already got the accolades. You done already got the Grammys.
So you're saying the drive is kind of lacking?
You done already got that. I'm not saying the drive is out, but you can't be a billionaire still rapping how you shooting people in the head and how you robbing people. Like that is not.
But hold on. But if that's your lane and people come for you for that, then that's what it is.
listen, it's the same thing like with Master P, right? In his thing, he rapped the life that he was living.
Right.
After that, he's no longer living that life. He can no longer keep going out here being the
Oh, I
ice
agree.
cream man.
I
He's
agree.
transitioning onto his kids and other avenues. That's what the legends do.
So you saying Bone fell off after the Phil Collins song? I got you.
I mean, you can say that. You can say that. But hold on. But if you're gonna say that, then how can we say that? Because when we go ahead and go to that the Biggie remake of the with Swiss Beats and the Notorious Thugs, right?
Oh yeah.
Crazy Bone still killed it. These niggas is still killing the game anytime they feature on something.
Well, they talented, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And let's face it, we're not even going to talk about the Chameleonaire features, right? That won all kind of awards, and we're not even going to go there. We're not going to go even with 3-6 Mafia, right? Even to this day, going with Katy Perry, going with all these other people, right? And still killing the game. They're still relevant today. And I get it. As a group, you may feel like 3-6 Mafia and Bone are not the groups that they once were. Well, guess what? They started in a different time and era. They started when we were kids.
Right.
Fast forward 20 years, right? 20, 30 years. Of course, they're not going to be the same. This a whole different group of people. They're making music for a whole group of people.
But let me ask you this, though, and everybody in here that's listening.
Mm-hmm.
I told JayDub earlier before we was on the air, I said, I think 3-6 Mafia kind of transcended because they kind of start going after the Caucasian crowd. You know what I'm saying? They started doing stuff with Jackass and Steve-O and
Yellow
all this
Wolf
stuff.
and the rest. Yeah.
They was trying to cross over between that because, they was always into like heavy. They was like the black rock and rollers. You know what I'm saying? To me.
Yeah.
It was into the dark side shit. It was into like, that high energy music.
Well, Bonethugs was too. I mean, let's
not forget
but
Mr.
Ouija
the energy
and the cover.
Was a little different. Where Bone was more laid back and like flowing, and then 3-6 Mafia was more like just so that
energy.
Raw.
They had a lot of energy, up tempo energy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I mean, I think 3-6 Mafia when they start getting to the Caucasian crowd, it did them a huge favor because now they was opening up they brand and they market and they sound and converting it to transcend to other fans. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, look, majority of fans is white anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For all rap. But I'm just saying they kind of blurred the lines between like that rock star type of accountability mixed with
absolutely
rap. And it kind of and it helped them out because that's when he did the Katy Perry stuff. Like now you open up your bag. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. 3-6 Mafia did transcend. They did cross over. But they can still put together right now. They can still put together.
Oh, of course.
That will still rival any recent group, and I think even Bonethugs to this day. I don't know if you know it. Probably about a couple of years ago, Migos came out.
I remember
and said that they were the best group alive or whatever, and Lazy Bone and Busy Bone took that as a shot. Because listen, a lot of these new cats, a lot of these new rappers are not paying their dues and their respect to the legends of the game. And there's a level of respect that the new generation just don't have for the old generation.
But let me ask you this though: what makes you think? I mean, like, say if you rap like somebody unintentionally, right? Kind of like the Ghostface.
There is no such thing as unintentionally.
Well, I mean, listen.
They were directly influenced by Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3-6 Mafia and the likes. There is no, hey man, I ain't know these dudes, so I'ma just know your bars, your flow, the speed flow, everything comes. I mean, nothing, all of that stuff had already been done. That's right. Just like if you try to bring back auto tunes, right? And you don't pay respect to Roger Troutman, and you don't pay respect to the T-Pains of the world, and then you talking about, hey, yeah, I ain't never listen to them cats. This is like, what are we doing here? That's not how that goes. You got to pay your respect and just dues. And I get it. A lot of these new cats are making way more money than 3-6 Mafia and Bone Thugs ever had. But these dudes come from a different group. They were selling albums. They were selling tapes. right? And then eventually they started selling CDs. These cats these days don't sell nothing. It's all about streaming. So they don't have to do none of the work. They got computers doing the work for them. These dudes actually had to get on the buses and go and sell tapes and do stuff. They had to do the grimy work, right? 3-6 Mafia was underground in Memphis selling their stuff. They didn't leave that bubble of Memphis for years. You can't discount all the hard work that they did, right? So when you bring it up, when we're bringing up the Bonethugs and the Migos beef, it's just because the cats were not paying respect to the people that brought it before. Think about it. Bonethugs did stuff with Fat Joe, with Big Pun, Cuban Link. They did stuff with Biggie, with Pop, with Easy, with all the greatest and the legends, with Sade. They did shit with Phil Collins. They did shit with Mariah Carey. You know what I'm saying? When we watch this verse and we're going to see Breakdown, when you hear Breakdown that with Mariah Carey,
that's fire, yeah.
That's going to put people in their feelings. You know what I'm saying? When you see 3-6 Mafia and who run it and all the
hold on, let me ask you this. When you think we'll run into a problem where the crowd, now this is one thing we kind of didn't take in consideration, like the age demographic, right? So do you think with this stream, all the millennials and everybody before us will tune in and like give our take, or you think the new crowd gonna be in there saying like, oh well, I only know 3-6 Mafia more relevant. I don't really know these Bone songs. I'm going to side with them.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. There's more of us than them at the moment that this matters to. That's kind of like saying, hey, if you got a blues competition between BB King and Bobby Blue Bland, Blue Bland, like who cares? Our parents is going to tune in for that. Who cares if our kids tune in? It's not for them.
But all our parents ain't online. I mean, exactly. I don't know. It's going to be tricky.
No, I get it. I'm just trying to use that as a metaphor. Like, who cares?
Oh, okay, yeah.
These groups, right? Like some of these groups these days, they're only relevant for maybe a year, and then they're gone. You don't hear about them anymore, right? When the last time have you listened to a Designer album?
You see, my mic's still muted, so I don't.
You see what I'm saying, right? When the last time have you heard and I'll be honest, I mean, I like the cat, but 2 Chainz. When the last time you heard a 2 Chainz song on the radio?
I mean,
you see what I'm saying? Now, listen, I ain't taking it away from these guys, but their careers does not span 30 years like 3-6 Mafia and Bone. These dudes, I listen to their jams. My kids start listening to their jams, right? This is timeless music.
That's a fact.
These cat songs are still sampled to this day. Nobody is sampling a 2 Chainz or a Designer song.
Well, it's too early.
No, listen, I get it.
I mean, look, there's no rule on sampling or time, but
listen, I get it. But I just asked you when the last time you listened to one of their songs.
Well, 2 Chainz specifically last night. He was featured on the song, I heard.
Okay, he was featured on the song. But let's face it, like, after a couple of months, man, nobody.
But 2 Chainz is old though. That's Titty Boy.
I get it.
He's an OG.
I'm talking about as being relevant. Like his shit is not going down.
2 Chainz still relevant.
He's
more relevant than Bone.
Okay. I don't think so. It's not. But
so wait,
again,
so you say relevant as in legacy versus current?
Absolutely. We're talking about music. We're talking about these guys had a 30-year span of music and catalog, right? Of legendary status. And then you take that legendary status and you bring it to modern times. Anyone from these 2 different groups could outdo 2 Chainz. They could outdo the Migos. Personally, I think they could outdo any rapper today. Any rapper today.
Kratos, you capping, bro.
It is what it is. I get,
but you capping because these are groups, though.
I get. Who cares, right?
What do you mean? It's not fair.
Make some group. Listen, I'll put Crazy Bone against the Drakes of the world and anybody else of the world. I'll put DJ Paul and Juicy J against anybody else's of the world. That's just me.
But when you say you put them against, like, what do you put them against? Like, lyrical capability?
Lyrical? Listen, at the end of the day,
overall?
Lyrics, overall, everything. Listen, let's face it.
You tripping.
Let's face it. DJ Paul, like I said, is probably the number 2 best producer, best DJ in the world. Crazy Bone, probably the best lyricist of the world. He's the granddaddy of the game. I mean, he's just nobody can fuck with him. I will be willing to put any one of these two groups against any dudes, any other groups out there, whether it's solo.
Kratos, you sounded too confident, bro. You gotta slow down.
I am confident because that's just what.
Do y'all hear this, man? Listen, look, I love these rappers, but come on, man, stop the cap.
What? Listen, who? Name me somebody right now. Name your top rapper.
Okay,
right now.
What do you want me like? Okay,
just first of all, it don't matter. Just name your top rapper. You gonna name Drake? Come on.
What you talking about lyrically? Who's better? Nigga,
anybody. Like, it don't matter. It don't. Because at the end of the day, right? Let's say Kendrick Lamar, right? He said he was directly influenced by Bonethugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia. So he done already admitted it, right? So there's no sense even bringing his name.
And I would put Kendrick above Crazy Bone.
And we know that he one of the best in the game right now. But even
Kendrick and I would put him over Crazy.
Man, come on, come on.
Yes, I would.
Oh my God.
We're not gonna disrespect Kendrick like that, bro.
Who said you listen? If I just told you, Kendrick Lamar himself, right, said that he was raised and he was mimicking everything these dudes, and you're gonna tell me that I'm like, how does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense because he just learned from the greats.
Oh my God!
And
listen,
if
Kobe,
listen,
hold on, no. That's just like saying, right? Are you disrespecting Michael Jordan if you say Kobe Bryant mimicked his game after Michael Jordan? How is that disrespecting? We know it's
but
true.
I still put Michael Jordan over Kobe a little bit.
What do you think I'm doing?
But this is music though. It's completely different.
Michael Jordan over Kobe Bryant.
But you talking about a physical sport. You're not talking about lyricism and delivery and all this.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Stop it, brother. Stop it. Listen,
come on, bro. We know Crazy can rap, bro, but just because he rap fast don't mean it's super tight.
We're not even talking about rapping fast. He can rap it fast or slow. It don't matter. He's just a better lyricist. Nobody can fuck with him.
Huh? Oh, but better than who? Everybody?
I asked you to name me somebody. You ain't been able to name it.
Okay, we can put Kendrick. We put Kendrick right there.
But you brought up. Listen, why are you bringing up Kendrick when Kendrick Lamar himself? My brother.
What
Kendrick,
does that matter, Kratos? If you say hey, I learned my jump roping skills from Kratos, and now I can do 20, you can do 10. So who's better?
We didn't already listen. Oh my God! Listen, you making up. I don't even know where your argument even coming from. The mere fact that Kendrick Lamar already tipped his hat and say, "Hey, I got the game from these niggas." So obviously, they the legends of the game. I done got my game from them, right? So it is what it is. But let's go back to the 3 6 Mafia because we kind of get sidelined with a lot of Bonethugs.
Go ahead.
DJ Paul, Juicy J, man. Two dudes of the group that's still relevant to this day. They still can crank out beats and hits and do what they do. They deserve every little credit that they get, man. I think a lot of their catalog is undervalued, and we know because the guys, when they're young, nobody really kind of goes back through the L's of time and look at their previous work. But the longevity that DJ Paul and Juicy J was able to do what they do still remain relevant, still remain, cordial, friends, still get the bag, still able to jump on anybody's album and make that shit hot. That has to speak for something, man. This verse is going to be hot. I don't know how they're going to be able to I think, I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is a versus. I think this is the top tier era of music generation over a 20 to 30 year span.
Matter of fact, Andre 3000 can rap better than Crazy Bone.
Yeah, but you high right now, so nobody listening. but like I'm saying, right? I don't think this is really a versus. I think this is just a celebration of these legends in the music industry. And there's not going to be a clear winner. There's no such thing as a winner in these groups. You can close your eyes and pick either or group and you'll be right. These groups have influenced generations of rappers and hip-hop artists and musicians. They have influenced the game so far, even to this day. They have done it. Their legendary status is solidified. They got the album sales to prove it. They got the Grammys, the Emmys, and everything else, all kind of other image awards and everything else to prove it. And they just have the stamina to last decades, man. And they're not one-hit wonders. And they're not these dudes that had a great time for 2 or 3 years and then you never heard of them before. And that's just, I think that.
But Chris, let me ask you this: are you biased when it comes to regional music, though? Do you expand your ear to other genres like the West, the East, and all that?
I do, because even though I'm down south, you got to realize down south music didn't start popping until shit. I was like in high school, almost college. That's when the South got, when the Chameleon, the Power Walls, and Mike Jones.
But Texas only had 1 year.
No, we had more than 1 year.
No. Personal, no. Regional wise, y'all got every day, right? Y'all pop every day. Y'all got your own jurisdiction, right?
You're not taking into account that we.
But I'm talking about mainstream. Y'all only got 1 year.
But you're not taking into account that we had the Ghetto Boys. The Ghetto Boys went and rocked shit over in New York, right? When motherfuckers didn't know who they was. They sold out Madison Square, right?
No. Yeah, I get that. But I'm talking about the whole world on lock. Like every eye is on Texas. That was only 2005.
Okay. I mean, that's your opinion. But
that's everybody.
Well, put it like this. Down south, we had an era that spanned about 5 years where Houston had its shine, Atlanta had its shine. Everybody else down south kind of, had its shine, right? And it was the number one shit, put Texas and down south on the map. And I think that's just normal. East Coast had its time to shine. Then the West Coast, right? And then it's East. Then you had the Midwest. We're talking right now about these Midwest rappers, right? Classified Midwest rappers. That's normal. Rap has done that. It always had these transitions, right? We always had hey, what's better, East Coast or West Coast rap? Well, we know East Coast kind of started this and the West Coast took it. That's just kind of how it is. Because I'm down south don't mean that that's all I did. I mean, I grew up listening to MC8, DJ Quick, obviously, what I'm saying, Easy E and the rest of them dudes, right? But I also remember the LL Cool J's and the KRS ones and everybody, all the other stuff. So and when you ask me my favorite rappers, I'm gonna be honest, none of them really come from down south. So am I biased? I don't know, but I don't think I'm biased because it's down south. I claim down south that that's where I'm from, man. That's me. That's my culture. I'm here in Houston, Texas, man. Screwston, Texas. That's just what we do. We did influence screw music, though. We did create that. Nobody else can say that they created that. We put our stamp on the music world in that era, in that time, and nobody can take that from us, man. From UGK, Ghetto Boys, Paul Walker, Millionaire, Mike Jones, Slim Thug, on and on and on. So, I mean, if that makes me biased, then, I'll be biased. But anyway, man, this has been a great Twitter Spaces, man. These two legendary groups, 3-6 Mafia and Bonethugs and Harmony, December the 2nd, it's going to be fire. It is going to be fire. I can't wait, man. I grew up loving these guys, knowing every single lyric, every single word out of their mouths. When it comes to rapping and stuff like that, going to their concerts, getting to know them and everything else. I can't wait. These are still two of my favorite groups ever. They're highly influential in music. Any song that you hear on the radio right now has been influenced by these dudes. This is the best that hip hop has to offer, if you ask me. That's just what it is. Anyway, thank you guys for rocking out with me, man. I will upload this on YouTube for some of you guys that missed it. And be sure to, give me your thoughts, man. Let me know what you guys think. You guys think Bone Thugs and Harmony had more hits? You think 3-6 Mafia had more hits? Obviously, they have different styles, right? They rapped about a lot of the different things in the different eras, but their music was still relevant. They still kind of blurred the lines. They still kind of crossed the lines. They had beefs at the times.